Hello, everybody. This is Rob Fredette with the podcast Hodgepod, and welcome back for another episode. The last few episodes, I've been talking about health, wellness, and how we can get by in our daily lives. And I think we're going to keep doing that on this episode. Joining me is Marie Kuipers. She's the author of the book, We're All Mad Here, and she'll talk more about that. And she has a great perspective because March is Women's History Month. And she's going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about women issues, but life issues. Marie, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here. This is my first one.
Really? Your first one?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that I was the first one, and welcome. We're going to talk about your book, but if you could just introduce yourself, and we're going to have a great conversation.
Yeah. Like you said, my name is Marie Kuipers, and you got it on the first try, which is amazing. Nobody ever does. It's true. My mother always told me when I was growing up that I should find a nice Smith or Jones to marry so that I wouldn't have to deal with this last name of mine.
Right.
That didn't pan out. But yeah, I'm actually a first-time author. I've been a copy editor for my professional life, working with other authors and kind of helping them through, and finally took the dive about 3 years ago. I was just like, yeah, I had a whole bunch of things happen that made me say, today I'm gonna write the book. So I did. I still have to do copy editing. Unfortunately, Netflix has not purchased my book yet, but so I'm still working for the man, but I try to rise above it.
How did you get into authoring We're All Mad Here? Because I've had numerous authors on my podcast, and they've all talked about like writing a book, and some have had it in their head for years. Other ones have a couple of years. How did you start your book and you start getting it onto paper?
My book actually started, probably 15 years ago as a blog. Yeah. And my blog was called Misanthropista because I hate people. And so most of my stuff was going to just be about how annoyed I am all the time by people. And some of it was that. But then eventually I got into more personal stuff, things that were happening. And the tough posts were the ones that seemed to really resonate with other people. And I found something a little bit deeper there. I still hate people, and I'm glad to tell you all the reasons why I hate people. But when people that I didn't know started to email me or leave comments on my posts saying, thank you for saying that. I'm going through something similar and I would never know how to voice that, or I wouldn't dare voice that. And it makes me feel a lot less alone that you actually did. And I got enough of those messages that I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That feels good to like not just make people laugh, but to actually make somebody feel less alone. That's a huge honor. And, unfortunately, life got really hard, really messy, and I kind of left it. I just sort of left it and started working. Actually went back to school to be a copy editor, and landed a publishing job right away, and so got really busy with helping other authors get to where they wanted to be, and helping to make their books better, doing sort of like I'm the emotional support editor. um, and yeah, it was kind of just this wild confluence of events that, because I had long abandoned the idea of writing my own book. I just was like, it's not happening. But everything kind of lined up where the publisher I was working for imploded just right off the map overnight. And all of the authors and all of the people that worked for that publisher were kind of left stranded. And one very smart man among us was like, I'm going to take us all over to this other platform. And the editors be editing, the writers be writing. We're just all going to figure it out together, and we did. And so getting started talking to other editors, to book coaches, to developmental editors, people that specialize in structure, things like that, it just kind of brought everything to the surface as like a real possibility. And like I said, then there was a day a couple summers ago where three like insane things happened, boom, 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 all at once on the same day. And by that night, I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm writing the book.
So talk about your blog that you had when people were responding back to you. Were the things about tough challenges in life, or was it just the things that you could bounce ideas off of? Because life is hard no matter what. Life is not perfect. No matter what on television, everybody's smiling, having a good time. It ain't perfect. Talk about that if you would.
Yeah, no, it was stuff, really tough stuff that had happened in my life that I chose to share, which in hindsight was wild. Like, it's bananas, some of the stuff that I like, put out there. But for example, my ex-husband had been catfishing me like for years, even while we were still married. He created this whole online identity pretending to be somebody that I knew. And I fell for it, like, I fell for it, and it was a couple years into that when I found out after I had already left him for other reasons because he was horrible, and then at that point, he started to, like, legit stalk me. I had moved many states away, I'd moved to Utah. He followed me there, he showed up in front of my house, he circled my block again and again, like, trapping me in the house, and the texts would cycle from, "Oh my god, I love you, I can't live without you," to the next one will be, "Oh, you fucking bitch," all the terrible names in the book that you can think of, and then the last one would be, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry," and then again. And so it was a very traumatic thing with a very dramatic, like, denouement with me trapped in the house, like,
Wow.
yeah, and I just for my own therapy, by the way, I got diagnosed with PTSD after that, so which is very handy when you wanna get a medical card in
Wow.
a
Gee.
state that doesn't have it. But, yeah, I wrote that whole thing out just as sort of therapy for myself, and I wrote it out in, like, a just kind of flow state, no punctuation, no capitals, nothing, like, whole post was one sentence, and it was really dark, but I shared it because I don't know why I shared it, but I did, even though I felt ashamed about what had happened because I thought I should have known better, and that post was so widely shared, the most widely shared post I ever wrote, which really tells you a lot about what women go through behind the scenes and what they don't talk about. And that was the post that got me emails from so many women saying, "Oh my gosh, the same thing happened to me. I can't believe there are others out there. I would never have told anybody." And so yeah, that it spoke to me the reactions of other women that had similar things or similarly awful things, not necessarily that exact specific situation, but other terrible things for them and for them to come to me and say, "Thank you for talking about this. I can't talk about this. I never would. I wouldn't dare, or I'm too afraid, or I'm too embarrassed. So thank you for not being afraid or embarrassed." I was both, but I did it anyway. So that meant a lot to me, like connecting with strangers who needed to hear it.
That is an amazing story, and you must have been isolated, and then when you got feedback from other women, that must have really taken a load off your shoulders.
Yeah, because I too thought this could not have possibly ever happened to anybody else. This is so ridiculous. But but there's a lot of shady dudes out there. A lot of shady everybody out there, I will say, but women I think are definitely more conditioned to stay quiet, to smile for the children and do what they need to do and just kind of take it. And that was what I was getting from these women over and over again. "Thank you for saying this. I never would have done it."
There are some sick people out there, so just be careful out there, everybody, because you just wanna just be careful. I did some research. Women's History Month is in March, and in 1987, Congress officially designated March Women's History Month. So talk about that because you're talking women's issues on this episode. So what made your passion be talking about this?
Well, I don't know that I would say, "Oh, women's issues are my passion," or things like that. It's just, I'm, like, so old now that my lived experience has just been watching the patriarchy, you know, just with their boots on our necks years and years, and it's not very much different than it was when I was in middle school. How women are treated, how we are expected to act, and it hasn't changed a whole lot. It has changed a little bit. But one of the things I do talk about in my book is, like, body image stuff. It's called swimsuit issues. And I kind of harken back to this issue a few years ago where they put allegedly a plus size woman on the cover. And this plus size woman, P.S., is like a goddess, like long limbed, flowing hair, like in nobody's definition would this be a fat woman or a plus size woman? Like, and I don't even think I think she was like a size 8, something like that. So not plus size by any means, but the socials were lit up by men going, "Ew, gross. I can't believe you make me look at that. If I wanted to," like, oh god, a friend of mine, it was an actual friend of mine said something like, I paid for a Lamborghini and I got a Ford Taurus," meaning they bought the magazine for whatever, emaciated sports car bodies, and instead got the beautiful, voluptuous Australian beach queen, and they were outraged. They were absolutely outraged. And this righteous indignation about not getting their visual due was so disgusting to me and to many women, to probably all women, because very few of us fit into that Lamborghini in a bikini kind of grouping. And yeah, and I have 3 nieces. We're very close. We're nieces, aunt and nieces, but we're also very best friends, all of us. And they range from mid-30s to, like, late 20s at this point. And as they have grown up, we travel in a pack often. We do this thing called Niece Fest, where we pick a place and we just go. And so as these Niece Fests have progressed, as the girls have gotten older and I have gotten older, there was a very clear shift in where the eyes were going as we walked by as a group. The men would start to look at my nieces, again, tall, beautiful, slim, just gorgeous women, and I would get a little bit indignant about that, like, don't look at them like that," and also, like, "Hey, what am I, chopped liver?" And but then to see, as I've gotten older, to see the eyes go from niece to niece to niece and then land on me, and, like, there's, like, a visible disappointment that their eyes have landed on something, like, they shoulda quit looking while they were ahead before they got to me. Like my doughy face and body has ruined this whole experience for them. And I know that that's every woman goes through that every day. If it's not like getting catcalled by construction workers, which is really terrifying. Like, it's not terrifying like you think something's gonna happen, but when you see that on the block where you're walking, you think, "Oh god, here it comes." Nobody should have to do that.
No, nobody should have to endure that either. No woman should have
Yeah,
to endure that. That's crazy.
yeah,
That's one thing about social media is really, like, it's brought the worst out on people. You said people
yeah,
were really violent, and they're probably under these false names, these whatever you call it, handles on social media. They
yeah,
won't put their name out there, so it's if you're such a tough guy, put your name on it before you start chastising people.
and that's the thing. That is exactly what separates the men from the gross men, which is, you know, own it. If you wanna be that guy, don't pretend you're not. That's another thing from New Jersey, just be who you are, I don't care who it is, like, be authentic, Don't play. You're going to get found out.
Women are the backbone of foundation of society. Women are mothers, obviously, but mothers are the foundation of the family. And while I was getting ready for this, I'm showing you this. In World War II, we had Rosie the Riveter. Remember Rosie the Riveter?
Yes.
Yeah. So Rosie the Riveter with the flex in the arm.
Yep.
That's the iconic, time in World War II where women were able to work in the factories while the men fought off in World War II. And had the women not done that, it may have been a different result.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, we did. We keep things running in just about every area that we inhabit, work, home, school, social lives. Like, women are the bridge builders, men are the bridge bombers. Sorry, no offense to you, by the way.
That's all right. Cool. When my brother and I would get in trouble when we were younger, when we were kids, we'd always not want to get in trouble with our father. Our mother was a little bit softer than our father, and they were both great parents, but we always favored her because, she wouldn't be as mad, I guess you could say. It was a little bit softer. So,
Yeah, wasn't as scary. I know.
so, so, talking about Women's History Month, why women's messy stories deserve just as much celebration as their triumphs. So, talk about that if you would, please.
Oh, I'm all about the mess, all about the mess, because as we've kind of touched on, women don't often expose the mess. We are kind of taught to, chin up, put on a nice suit, go to work, play nice, don't be problematic, don't be emotional, and that's how you're going to get your paycheck, and that's how you're going to get your promotion, and that's how you're going to, get whatever it is that you're hoping to get. Those aren't natural things to expect from women, or I mean, or anyone really, but especially women. Women are powerful because of our emotions, because of our, the love in our hearts and the softness, and that's what we bring. And with all that stuff often comes, chaos, heartbreak, and we aren't encouraged to really lean into those things, And so yeah, I think it's important because it is underrepresented. There's a lot of powerful women memes, and those are amazing. I love those. I eat them up. But that isn't the reality most of the time for most women. Most women are either going through it, or they've been through it, or they're going to go through it at some point. And those experiences, if we sort of honor them and process them, are going to make us better in the end. And when you share as women, when you share these kind of ugly things with other women, they go, "Oh my God, me too." Or I mean, I don't mean like hashtag me too, but also that. Also that. But like, "Oh my God, that happened to me too. I was a wreck." And that's so important. It's so important to build those foundations with other women in friendships, in business, in whatever it is that you are doing in sports. I mean, I played roller derby, and roller derby is not a place that you end up if you've had a picket fence life. Everyone there is a hot mess, and that's why we end up there. And knowing that about each other and learning their stories, sharing your stories, empathizing is such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing. So, yeah, celebrate the mess.
You mentioned roller derby. So, like, roller derby, when you're going around the, like, what do they call it? The rink or whatever.
The track. The
So
track.
you're literally trying to, like, knock somebody out, right?
No, not necessarily. There are rules, and there's refs and stuff like that, but you do want to bump them out of the way if they're getting in in front of your points. Yeah. There are zones where you can hit, zones where you cannot hit. You can't use elbows or hands. It's all body, similar to hockey. We don't fight like hockey, but But yeah, it's a pretty specific set of rules and regulations. People don't believe that. They think it's just mayhem.
So how did it feel? So how
But
did
again,
so how did it feel when you like you got somebody, you knocked them over? How did that feel?
hey, you know what? I started playing roller derby after what went down with my ex-husband, and it was after a period of just sitting on the couch being like, I can't believe I'm so stupid. I can't this blah, blah, like absolute like the lowest depths of low. And I was sitting on the couch and I just one day was like, okay, what is the most ridiculously badass thing that I could possibly do for myself? And I was like, roller derby. So
That's
so I
awesome.
did it. And I was 44 years old at the time. I had never roller skated in my life. I was not allowed to roller skate when I was young, but I did it, and I ended up on with 2 of the greatest teams there are, and then after I retired, I became a coach so that I could give younger women, girls, or my kids were like 7 to 17 in the juniors. And it was really important for me to do that and to be for them what I never had, which was somebody to say, you are powerful, you are amazing, you are weird, and that's the best thing about you. And you get to create your identity. You get to create your identity on the track when you pick your roller derby name. It's a reflection of who your best self would be. And so being able to teach young girls that and like never take any crap from anybody on the track, off the track, doesn't matter. Be who you are, love who you are, embrace the weird. You're amazing. And I never had anybody say anything like that to me. So it was really, really, it was kind of, I was sort of pathological about being available in that way to the young girls because you don't know what they're being told. When I was their age at home, I was being told to behave myself, to be quiet, to wear a dress, to go to tennis lessons so that I could fit in at the country club. And that wasn't ever real. That was not real life. And I didn't have anybody to kind of boost me up like that. Like I was weird and my parents didn't like it. And they let me know that was not okay.
Yeah.
Through a lifetime of therapy.
You had mentioned you were going through a really bad time and you did roller derby. And I always say, if you're going through a rough patch in your life, which I have a couple of times, and it's good to find something to get a release. One time I had about 20 years ago, I had a rough patch, and then I went to go walk dogs at the Humane Society here in Memphis for about 2 years on Monday nights. And it was the best thing I ever did to hang out with the dogs. And it was great therapy for me because they were still trying to find homes. So find something out of your comfort zone, and then you will. I look back at it now, I think that was a huge blessing for me to do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you got to find something, a release valve, so you're not like, I don't know, you're not like in a house or not venturing out. And then I think that was therapeutic for you that you did roller derby.
Oh, yeah, and it gets you, and especially if you're talking about animals, like, I had a similar thing where I ended up completely randomly at a bird like, a wild bird rehab center because 'cause I'd found this little bird, I was terrified, and I ended up there, and I ended up to be a volunteer at this, like, raptor center for years, and it was the greatest thing I ever did. And I think especially if you go to work with animals or with elderly or underserved communities, like, it also gets you out of your own head. It gets you out of your own
Mhm.
bullshit. Like, okay, oh, my husband was a jerk. Oh, wham, wham, wham. Well, okay, guess what? I'm not starving, not living under a bridge. I don't have fleas, right? So maybe it's not so bad. And I think it's really important to get yourself out of your own head at times like that when especially if you're just feeling sorry for yourself. You can do that and you can grieve those losses and you need to do that. But at a certain point, if you're stuck in the self-pity channel, then you got to get out of it. You got to
Yeah,
go help somebody else.
I
And
agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I had also a superior years ago tell me, I want you to feel sorry for yourself for 5 minutes and then move on. And I've kept that mantra in my brain. So if I have a bad something that goes on, I feel sorry for myself for 5 minutes and then I just move on. And then That's the best advice I've ever gotten in my career, and I still hold it true to this day. Every day's a gift, no matter how bad life gets. Every day's a gift. Cherish it. There is another day forward. So that's just a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Humor is a great thing too, right? Humor is a great way to get through times, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. And for me, my book covers some pretty dark stuff. But the way that I have always coped with the dark stuff is to laugh at it, because really, on paper, it's ridiculous. The things, the stuff that my mother inflicted on me and my brothers is so ridiculous that it really is like laugh out loud funny. But when you're the kid going through that, it's not funny. And it's not funny that it shapes your whole life, your whole belief system, your whole way of being. But when I tell those stories, the hilarity really resonates, and I also think that it helps you process, because when you hear something so ridiculous, like, I'll tell you a story.
I have a sixth sense of humor, so go.
Oh, good. Okay. When I was in graduate school, and I this was back in New Jersey, and I commuted to the campus, whatever, and we had a big snowstorm at the end of my semester. And my mother, who was worrywart, doesn't be she had debilitating anxiety, and that she thought that was love. She thought that because she worried so much and because she inflicted all these like insane rules, that meant she loved me. But it wasn't. So my phone started ringing in the morning. This was like landline days, right? Phone started ringing, and call after call. "Don't go to school today. Don't go to college today. Oh God, please, you're gonna die. It's snowing. Can't do this to me." And this was all going on the answering machine because I knew what was coming. And after, I don't know, the fourth or fifth call, I picked up. I said, "Mom, I have an exam today. I have to go to school. I'll be extra careful. I'll call you as soon as I get home. I'll put the four-wheel drive on. It's gonna be fine, but I have to go." And she launched into this dead serious proposal that, okay, if I insisted upon disobeying her, graduate school, by the way, that I was to go to my kitchen and find a metal colander and affix it to my head with some shoelaces and tie it under my chin. And that was how I had to go to school that day, was with a metal colander on my head, tied underneath my chin with shoelaces, and she expected me to walk across. She was dead serious. Like, she was in her head, she had found the perfect solution to keep me alive that day, to walk through the college campus with a metal colander on my head, tied underneath my chin. And, you know, like, that story is funny, it's hilarious because who is that crazy? But it's also really telling and really sad and really, very descriptive of, in the most absurd way, of how I was raised, and all of these her dread and her anxiety and her fear was all put onto me. And that then leads you into the emotional, the damage, the fallout from all of that echoed forever. However, it's a really funny story. And and after that, actually, we made up a drinking game. And it was sort of like the game of telephone, where like we would take the colander and put it on our head, and then we'd tell somebody a secret, and whoever messed up the secret would then have to wear the colander. And there was a mantra that we said, but it's profane, so I won't repeat it.
I would have wore the colander going to visit her. Hey, how's it going?
She would not have gotten the joke. She would not. No.
I like I got a weird sense of humor. You go to a situation and there something runs out of something and you're waiting in line or you're doing something, and then I always say, "Now you tell us." That's
Right.
that's me. I go, "Now you tell us that you're
Yeah,
out of something? You could have told us 2 hours ago. Now you tell us?"
right.
Unbelievable. I grew up in the Northeast too. I think that's that Northeast sarcasm a little bit. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Where did you grow up?
Massachusetts, just north of Boston. It's I
Oh,
love it
yeah.
up I love it up in the Northeast. I'm down in Memphis now, but I do miss it up there in the Northeast.
It's definitely, like, if you're from there, you're from there, and
Yeah, yeah. There's no
when you
2
go other places, it's you're not from there.
I've had yeah, when I talk, they go, I know you where you're from. You're from New England." I go, "You are correct. You are correct."
Mm,
They pick it out. And I said, "You could tell, right?" And they go, "Yeah, I can tell." So,
yeah.
and then if I see somebody talk from and they sound like they're from New York, I say, "You're from New York, aren't you?" And they go, "Yes, we are." And it was like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew it."
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about, if you would, as well, getting through life, maybe mental health, burnout, grief, family dynamics, because I've had these episodes the last 3 or 4 about burnout, mental health, getting through life, getting through stress. So talk about that, if you would, because life, like I said earlier, is hard. So there's a lot of things. We get like thousands of things thrown our way every day. So
Yeah.
is there any bits of advice you could give out? You've explained a lot of what's been going on with you. So is there any like words of advice for folks out there?
Well, gosh, I don't even know if I'm qualified to give advice, but I can tell you, like, grief is also a really prevalent theme throughout the book and throughout my life. I've lost a really just unreal amount of people, number of people in my life starting at a young age. And so having to process that, the thing that people always say, "Oh, well, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger." And I don't agree. I do not agree with that. I think if it doesn't kill you, it chips away a little bit more every time until the next one and the next one and the next one. And it at some point you are so beaten by grief because what people tell you when you're grieving is people who don't know about grief will say to you, "Oh, chin up," or, "Oh, they want you to be happy," or, "Cheer up, let's go out for a drink." And it's very inconvenient for people that you're not who you were yesterday or before this loss happened. They go, "Oh, you're not fun anymore. You're duh, duh, duh," like, but because you're not really given time to move through the grief and to honor the grief. And I'm particularly talking about like death grief. Like people do give you, you get bereavement leave or whatever, but the people around you in your world will have empathy for you for a few days, couple weeks, and then their life goes on. And your life doesn't go on so quickly. But once again, then you are encouraged by society to contain that and to be back to normal. And you're not back to normal. You're never going to be back to normal. This is a new normal. And again, that new normal isn't always convenient for the people who liked you the way you were. And my best advice there is to find you people who do understand.
Mhm.
After my dad died, I started to realize there were people who had not experienced loss, and they did their best, and they would say, "Oh, thoughts and prayers. Can I bring you anything?" But then there were people that had been through a loss like that who did understand, who didn't say thoughts and prayers. They said, "Man, doesn't this suck? I'm so sorry that you're going through this. It sucks. I know how bad it is." They share your grief. They share their stories of grief. They make you feel like what you are going through is real and is allowed. And so I very quickly kind of had a line down the middle of
Mhm.
my network of people who get it and people who don't. And it wasn't that the others were any less earnest or kind or well-meaning. They just didn't know the right way to say it because it hadn't happened to them yet. And so I would encourage either whether it's a grief group or something like that, or just kind of connecting with people, the other people that have been through it to say, gosh, did you feel like this for so long? Or I keep having dreams, or I keep wanting to pick up the phone and, call my dad. And guarantee you they will say, "Oh, yeah, I still do that. It's 10 years and I still do that." Or, "Oh, you know what I used to do?" And it's really, once again, it's community. It's it's speaking your truth and your experience in the way that you are going through it, and not doing so to people who will shut you down because it's ugly or it's uncomfortable or it's awkward. It is. It's all of those things. And so you have to find people that will travel that awkward path with you. So that's my advice on
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. My father, he passed away 2012 and he had Alzheimer's and he didn't know my brother and I the last
Mhm.
3 years he lived. And
Oof.
he was pretty much he was pretty much bedridden for 3 years. And when he passed away, I was relieved more than anything because he had been confined to a bed and I didn't cry or anything. I was more relieved. That was my grief.
Mhm.
And it's not I was sad, but I didn't
And
I was just relieved that he just wouldn't live like this anymore, that
yeah.
we watched him take his last breath and it was like, wow, it's like it's over. This
Mhm.
terrible disease is over. I was relieved. And I even that he died on Father's Day 2012 and I even went
Oof.
into work on Tuesday just to get my frame of mind just to I don't know. I had to ask my mother permission. Hey, is it okay if I go to work today? Because I can't sit around here. It wasn't
Mhm.
I wasn't sad. I just had to do something to keep my mind off it, and it was hard. So, but yeah,
Well, it sounds like you lost him years before he was actually gone. So you
yeah,
probably were grieving for a long time before he actually died. Anticipatory grief, I learned, is a thing. It's a real thing. And that is where the person, either they're sick or they have a terrible addiction or they have depression that will not subside, whatever it is. Like, you can grieve people in advance when you just know. And it's real grief.
yeah.
Even when they're still there, it's absolutely real grief. But then when they do go, relief is a real thing. And I have that with my pets too. Sometimes, especially with pets, they're so innocent. Like, I had a dog that from the time he was a puppy, I would look at him and burst into tears, even when he was a puppy, because I knew I was going to lose him someday.
Mhm.
And that is such a thing to live with, to put upon yourself. And then when they finally go, you're like, well, that's the worst thing. That's the thing that I was dreading all of this time. And now that's over. So breathe. And it's not that simple with people ever. But in a case like that, with like a prolonged illness, you really do lose them before they're gone. And so you probably did a lot of processing before he actually did pass.
I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way. We were in the midst of caregiving, so caregiving
Yeah.
was I never thought of it, and we were feeding him, changing him. He was in a facility where we took great care of him, but we would see him every weekend. And because he was 3 hours away, I would drive up every weekend to go see him with my mother. And my brother was at that in the area where he was up in Nashville. So, but yeah, it was tough. And I look back at it now and he is like when he passed away, he was just like he was sleeping. But yeah, you talk about losing pets. That's gut wrenching in and of itself either too. It's horrible.
Brutal. It's brutal. I've always had, like, people call me Doctor Dolittle and Ace Ventura because I always have 4 or 5 dogs at a time and how many cats, and now I also have chickens, and I did not expect to get so stupidly attached to chickens that just don't live very long, and it was actually one of my little chickens. I had a special needs chicken a few years ago, and when he died, it was so painful, such a knife through my heart that I declared at that moment, no more pets. I think I had 10 or 12 at the time, and I was like, these will all live out their days in luxury and love, and that's it. I'm done because I had finally broken to the point where I couldn't put it back together with that one little chicken. And I still, that was 6 years ago, and stand by it. I'm down to 2 dogs, 1 cat, and 2 chickens now. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, and I grew up on a farm. Like, I have always had animals, but I realized that it's such a source of anxiety for me that I've never not lived with that dread hanging over me, about losing them. And so I'm just not going to do it anymore. Just not doing it. So sometimes you just have to say, I can't take this anymore. And you don't.
Yeah, when we were growing up, we had a cat, and like my brother and I, we wouldn't break stuff, but something would fall, or it would break, and then we'd say, "Why did that happen? Why did you do that?" But the cat would knock something down. Cat wouldn't get yelled at. Nothing with the cat
Right.
was totally off limits.
Right.
She was totally off limits. Doesn't matter what she did. It's okay. We got pretty deep over there, but let's see here. Everything about life is perfection. We all want to be perfect at what we do. And sometimes perfection is not, something is not always perfect. So talk about that and embracing emotional truth, because I think failure is good because it helps us become better. Things I do now, I learned from what I mistakes 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So talk about that.
Yeah. Gosh. I like I said, I'm an absolute mess, and I love that about myself because I'm just done pretending that anything I do is gonna be perfect. It's just not, and it's not healthy to hold yourself to that kind of standard. My job, I'm a copy editor. It is my job to make your book perfect as it can possibly be. But copy editors make mistakes. Copy editors miss things. And that was a hard lesson for me because I used to like I would find something and I would beat myself up for days going, like, how did you miss that? How did you miss that? That's because it happens. It happens absolutely to the best of us. And there are lots of layers of protection about with a job like that. I'm the first set of eyes. There are 3 other sets of eyes after me. Someone's going to catch it and it's going to be fine. And even if they don't, guess what? 99% of readers aren't gonna know that was not correct. So you have to just get comfortable being uncomfortable with stuff like that, and it's a little bit harder in with your job because that is literally your job. People pay you money to make it the best it can possibly be. And so when you fall a little bit short, it feels terrible. But in regular life, I don't do that to myself anymore. Like I said, I'm so old now. Like my neck is falling, my jowls are dripping. Like there's only so much that we can do and so much we can beat ourselves into submission about whether it's aging or our weight or our relationships or whatever. Like everybody is making those mistakes. And if they're not admitting that they are, it means they're ashamed. And you can't be ashamed of making mistakes. You can be ashamed of doing bad things to people or, being careless with somebody's feelings or whatever. But like, there is absolutely no shame in screwing up and making a god awful mess of things. And the only shame in it, I think, is to pretend it didn't happen or to blame somebody else or to not try to learn from that experience. I'm a big accountability girl, meaning I'm going to look at every disaster and I'm going to figure out what part I played in that disaster.
Mhm.
And I'm going to own up to it. And I'm going to say with all my whole heart that I'm going to really try my best not to do that again. And that's what I think is missing a lot of times from people that get themselves into messes. There is a huge cultural tendency to blame other people for scrapes that you get in or mistakes that you make or failures that you bring to whatever project you're on. And I think if everybody just learned to say, I screwed up and I'm really sorry, I'm going to make it better and I'm going to move on because what else can you do? Just own your stuff, be proud of the little strides that you make, laugh at the mess. Always laugh at the mess
Oh
because it's
yeah.
hilarious.
Humor is good. So it's funny. I'll be online. I'll see like an old skit from Seinfeld or see old episode of Cheers, and then you watch that like Costanza. It just makes you laugh. It gets you off into it changes. I tell you what, laughing definitely changes your mood. Listening to music changes your mood. If you
Yep.
have a favorite group or a favorite song you can listen to, it changes your mood. I've been a big proponent of that on my last few episodes. Music is a great healer.
Yeah.
And so talk about your book. How has it been received and where can you get it?
It's actually been really well received, which was a s surprise to me because I am foul-mouthed. I have a filthy mind. I talk about a lot of unsavory things, and I don't know, I guess I just never really imagined that anybody would sit down and read it, but they have. It's a bestseller. I went with an independent publisher because I was impatient, and they don't do much. They don't do much after the book is out. So I'm trying my best to kind of work different angles now because it is good, and I have once again I've heard from people that were helped by hearing certain things or a turn of phrase that resonated, and yeah, it's gotten good reviews. It was an editor's pick for Book Life by Publishers Weekly, and so yeah, you can get it really anywhere books are sold online, Amazon, Barnes& and Noble. Those are the main ones. I hate to, like, advertise for Amazon, but
Yeah, they're starting to build more brick and mortars of Barnes and Noble stores now. It's becoming popular again in some areas. But that's
as it
great.
should be. Nothing better than hanging out in a bookstore.
Yes, I know. We have one here in Memphis, a Barnes and Noble in Memphis, and it's packed all the time. Parking lot's
Yeah,
packed all day. Doesn't matter what time of day it is, it's packed.
yep.
That's
There's
great.
hope for us all.
I just want to, well, first of all, you did a great job because I lost my video. I don't know if you could see me or not when you were talking there about 5 minutes ago, and I was trying to get you back. You did a great job, uninterrupted, like nothing happened. So that I give you kudos to that.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
I was like, I got to get,
I was in a fugue state.
I record on Zoom, but I play back on audio, and I'm like, I'm trying to get it back. And then all of a sudden I see back to meeting on Zoom, and I was like, oh my goodness, I hope she doesn't think I've left her or anything like
Oh,
that.
no, and I didn't see any of that on my side. I was just like
That was pretty cool. Marie Kuipers has been my guest on this episode. We've talked about her book, We're All Mad Here. She's the author of it. It's a darkly funny, deeply human memoir exploring grief, generational trauma, family dysfunction, and the complicated love we have for the people who hurt us, using humor, not to minimize pain, but to survive it. Yes, humor is one of the best medicines that anybody can have. And Marie Kuipers, thank you very much for joining me. Maybe we can come back and talk real life again because we got deep on this one.
Yeah, we did. I'd love that. Thank you so much, Rob.